Dum da da dum da da dum da da dum dum die die die. I da 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 ay ay ay. I da 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 ay ay ay. Ay 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 ay. Da 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 da. I da 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 da. I da 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 da. Ay 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 ay. Bam 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 bam. Hashivenu Hashem Eilecha V'nashuva Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem Da 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 da. I dum da 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 li da 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 I dum I da. Shalom, everyone. What an honor, a really big honor for me to participate, to open my heart and have anything to do with the beautiful and holy zikaron, holy memory of Ahava Emuna, Alea Shalom, who's forever cherished in our hearts. And I want to thank the family for just being here, asking me to participate. It's really humbling. It's not just another segment. It's not another shir. It's not another Yarzeit. To have anything to do with this incredible legacy, big shoes that she left for many of us to fill. It's a very big thing. But I just want to start off by sending all my love and continued care and consolation to the families. As we know, the ga'aguim, the missing, keeps on going on and on and on. And we just hope and pray that we're going to hear good news, be reunited with all our loved ones, our dearest friends, our greatest teachers, our mothers, our fathers, everyone. And we'll all see that every prayer, no prayer in the world ever went unanswered. Since it's the 9 days, when the Yarzeit comes out, I don't usually play with a live instrument. I still want to sing one more song together that'll hopefully zone us in on what I wanted to share, what I wanted to learn with you all tonight, this evening, on the Yarzeit. V'shifchi kamayim libech nochach pnei Hashem. Shifchi kamayim libech nochach pnei Hashem. This is from Eicha. We're going to be saying it. Hopefully not, but probably this coming Wednesday night. Shivchi kamayim libech nochach pnei Hashem. Shivchi kamayim libech nochach pnei Hashem. Oy shifchi kamayim libech nochach pnei Hashem. Shifchi kamayim libech nochach penei Hashem. Ay, 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 ay. Da 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 my ay ay ay. Shifchi kamayim libech nochach penei Hashem. Prophet Jeremiah tells us, pour out your heart like the water when you're standing in front of the one above. And tonight, even though it's learning, but it's also really davening, it's also praying, and it's also singing. As we titled this shir, The Song of Faith, what is the song of Emuna? Emuna, that one thing that never gets old, that no one can ever say, you know what, I think I had enough of that. I think I'm good with Emuna, and now let's move on to something else. Whoever tells you that, run very far away from them. I know for myself that the greatest Yetzer Hara is the one that tells you focus on other things. The Emuna thing just gets repetitive. And Baruch Hashem, we know that's not true. There's a teaching that we've learned many times over the years, and even in this context with the Yarzeit classes that we've done in memory of Ahava Emuna. And that is the following teaching, that the one thing in the world that God never says no to when asked for is when you ask Hashem, can you please give me more faith? Anything else I ask for? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no. There's always an answer. It's just not always yes. But when a person sincerely, nochach pnei Hashem, comes before God and realizes at the end of the day, what I need is not to be smarter, wiser, deeper, more successful. I need to be someone that lives with more faith, with more emunah. That's according to the Sfarim, according to our mystics, that's the one thing that God never says no to. It's always there. And tonight I want to deepen that notion. I want to deepen the path towards living that type of a life. As we all know, Ahava Emuna really, really lived in that light. And she gave that to so many of us. There are so many moments that I had the privilege of spending with her where I was conscious, and I was very much aware of the fact that right now I'm speaking to someone that actually believes in God. You'd think that's not, whatever, everyone believes in God. You know what I mean. That you're in the presence of someone that actually believes what they're saying. So I once saw this very interesting story by in one of the Hasidic books. One of the Hasidic Rebbe's said like this, where there's a story about a very famous person that it was a very noble person, very famous person. And he was also a Magid Shir. He would give classes, and he would always, the one Shir that he always, the one Mishnah he always spoke about all the time was the famous Mishnah in Masechet Brachot that says, Keshem shemevarech ala tova, kach mevarech ala ra'a. That a person, just like a person has to bless on all the good, you also have to bless on all the bad. Since if everything is from Hashem, everything must be in the bigger picture for the good, even if I can't see it. And as he was giving over this shir one day, he received a telegram where they told him, this was a very famous businessman. They told him that one of his sfinot, one of his boats that was sailing in the heart of the sea, which was filled with merchandise, the worth, the shovi, the worth of it was thousands and thousands of gold and silver. It began sinking in the middle of the ocean. This is like right as he was giving over this Torah and the Mishnah of, whoever, you have to keep on blessing on the good like you bless on the bad. And the moment that he heard the news that this is what happened to his boat, so he actually fainted. And it took him a long time to wake the guy up from being passed out. So his students grabbed him and said, Rebbe, why high? What's going on over here? You've been always teaching us, even today in Shir, that the essence of Judaism is to actually be able to bless on the good like you bless on the bad, to bless on the bad like you bless on the good. And the teacher said, listen, when your ship with all its merchandise is sailing in the heart of the sea, you could speak about inyanim of Emuna, but to actually live it is a whole nother parsha. Meaning, it's true. All the Torahs are true that we have to know. These are important things to do. These are important ways to live. But to actually make ourselves accustomed to living the Torahs that we're talking about is a whole different story. And here I want you to open your hearts to a little bit of Hebrew. Emuna is not something that you either have or you don't have. Emuna is something that you're constantly training for. Like we know the word in Hebrew for training, for when someone's training, they call it imunim. Emuna is from the shon of imun, that I'm constantly training myself to always be swimming in the parsha of Emuna. You know, sadly enough, our local community here in Efrat went through a devastating tragedy just 5 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, with the murder of Lucy D and her daughters and her 2 daughters, Maya and Rina. And I'm sure many of you were following Rabbi Leo's words at the funerals and at different occasions as well. But some of the stuff that were coming out of his mouth were truthfully mind-boggling. Mind-boggling that a person in his situation could actually say such words. And he shared that he was only able to say such words of faith. It's because he learns Emuna all the time. He's constantly injecting himself, infusing himself with so many different ideas, thoughts, and the training. He was always constantly training in Emuna. One of the amazing things that he said at one of the funerals, and I don't remember which one, and he learned this from Rabbi Ephraim Goldberg, he said, Emuna means focusing on what I have and not what I don't have. Being aware of what I have and not what I don't have. And he said, they were a family of 7. Right? There were 7. Lucy and Leo and 5 children. And now they're a family of 5. And, of 4. And the way he said, I could either say I don't have a family of 7, or I could say I do have a family of 4. I mean, of Shalom Neda, we should never know of such things. But for us to be able to train ourselves on a daily basis with lessons of Emuna, so that I could be able to always focus on what I have, leads me to a life that's filled with the greatest riches of the world. The song of faith is a song of noticing what I have in life. It's not so much pointing out what I don't have. That's Hollywood. That's, let's think of the music industry. That's Motown Records, for those of you that remember that reference. The grunge scene. I know Ahava Emuna definitely liked some of that music. We spoke about it as well. But that grunge scene hailing out of places like Seattle in the 90s, with very famous bands, were always focusing on the pain and on the sorrow and the misery when you noticed all the things that you don't have. That's not a Jewish nigun. A Jewish nigun, the Jewish way of speaking to Hashem, is that even while I notice what I don't have, I realize I have you. And if I realize I have you, I'm going to focus on what I have and not what I don't have. Speaking about concepts of Emuna is always meshubach. It's always praiseworthy. The more I speak about something, the more I become what I speak about. The more I speak about what I have, the more what I have becomes more tangible. The more I speak about what I don't have, the more that what I don't have becomes that which leads me and which governs me and which controls me. And it's a very, very deep thing to be able to consciously say, wake up in the morning and say, today, I'm going to only focus on the things that I know that I have. And what do I have in life besides the actual gifts? A Jew has an ability to always, like we said in the beginning of Shir, Shifchi kamayim libech. I can always pour out my heart and soul before the master of the world. That's never taken away from me, ever. There's never a need, and really in the teachings of Breslov, this is emphasized quite thoroughly. So I wanted to learn something with you from Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, which is going to help us sing this song of faith. It's going to help us focus on what we have and to welcome in what we have. I just want to acknowledge another thing when we're speaking about what we have. Those of us that are here learning together, careful, I'm going to say something very corny. And it's also the theme song of one of my favorite 80s sitcoms. As long as we got each other and we have each other. We have each other, we may not take advantage of it as much. We may be meeting here on a yearly occasion, but it doesn't have to be like that. And I think it's important, if there's one thing we can take out of tonight, aside from remembering that we do have the ability to always cry out to you, Hashem. But it's to take advantage of one of the relationships of someone that I see that's online learning with me right now, and reach out and say, from now on, this is a relationship that I'm going to make more of an effort to invite into my heart because I have it. And that's Emuna. Living a life of Emuna is taking advantage of what I have. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, who passed away in the year 1810, at the age of 38 from tuberculosis, has become more or less today's modern day shrink for a whole generation of people who don't know how to focus on what they have and tend to always focus on what they don't have. Rabbi Nachman was also a master storyteller. He would tell tales that were filled with the deepest secrets from mysticism and Kabbalah and Chassidut. The main sefer, his main book, which is basically a bunch of stories, is called Sipurei Masiot, Rabbi Nachman's stories. They're amazing. One of the stories, I'm not going to tell you the whole story, I'm just going to tell you a little piece of it. One of the stories had to do with a nice, beautiful Hasidic family that Nebuch didn't have any money. Then they finally figured out a way to save and save and save, and they finally were able to rent a tiny broken shack. And the story goes that the landlord wanted to throw them out, and they didn't have any money, any other money to go and dwell elsewhere. And then Rabbi Nachman stops, and the story ends like this: Vehine manhig Hashem yitbarach et kol olamo, which basically says, and God runs the world. But there's no, and everything worked out and everyone lived happily ever after. That doesn't happen over here. Often it does. In this situation, in this story, there's none of that. It's just in the middle of this family's crisis, and God runs the world. And that's like how the story ends. But that's not so fair. Where's the tzedek? Where's the justice? This family worked so hard, they got thrown out to the street. Well, I need to know the end in order to make sure that I could be okay with everything, right? The Torah is a book of tzedek and chesed and yosher. El emuna ve'en avil. There's nothing, you can't say that within the Torah that injustice takes place. But Rabbi Nachman wants to give us a brand new understanding of what emuna means. To be able to truly say God knows what he's doing is probably the greatest accomplishment a human being can say. That nigun, that song that's based on the notion of God, that I can proclaim God knows what he's doing, is one of the most beautiful nigunim in the world. And that's not a simple level. It's one of the deepest levels a person could reach. Rabbi Nachman says in his book Sichot Haran, Lamed Gimel, I'm quoting, Etzel ha'olam emuna hu davar katan, ve'etzli emuna hu davar gadol me'od. The rest of the world relates to the concept of emuna as a nice thing, a sweet thing, but a small thing. By me, emuna is a very, very big thing. The ikara emuna, and the essence of faith, ubli shum chokhmot v'chakirot klal, rak bepshitut gamun. The essence of emuna is without any in Yiddish, you say an Eiber Chacham, to be a smart aleck, without any investigations, just in the utmost simplicity. I just came from a Svarim store in Yerushalayim. As I'm saying this, and I want to show you one of the books I got today. If I could find it. Yeah. Medaber B'Tzdaka. This is a very small book, Medaber, one that speaks justice, and it's a book about the Holocaust based on classes of the son of Rav Kook, Rav Tzvi Yehuda Cohen Kook. And you could say this is a book on the Shoah. It's really an amazing short sefer about Emuna. I'm just going to read for you the first sikha here that Rav Tzvi Yehuda Cohen Kook gave in 1967. He says that no one can ever come to God with demands of saying, you should have done this better. Like, you don't want to be that person that says that to God. This should have happened, or that should have happened. And he's saying this in the context of understanding the Holocaust, right? So that just all the more so with anything else in our life, which is such a difficult thing to actually not tell God, I think you could have done this better. It sounds so weird to say such a thing. But in our hearts, in our minds, definitely less in our hearts. In our minds, we're filled with those types of novel ideas that we could share with Hashem. But really, Rabbi Nachman says, Bli chakirot, without these investigations, b'si hapashtut, with utmost simplicity, saying God runs the world, He knows what He's doing. And to be able to say, Rabbi Nachman says, Etzli emuna hu davar gadol me'od, that emuna is a big thing by me. He means like this, obviously when you're reading a story, and there's a whole balagan like we have in the story we just quoted before, and but you know that at the end there's going to be a good ending, so you're calm, and you can even deal with the fact that there's a lot of strife in the middle of the story. You're waiting for the good end. And okay, that's mean you have a lot of faith? Not really. It's not a chokhmah. To believe is in a place that there is no rationale, that you don't understand. You don't understand how it could be like this. You don't understand how this could be the end. That this is how this story ends, and this is how this person's life ends. Stories that we love and that calm us down are the stories that we know the end to the story. But we don't have the ending of a lot of stories. We have the middle of stories. We have the storyteller. We don't understand how and why he chooses all the pieces of the story to work. But we have the storyteller. Rabbi Nachman says, Etzli emuna davar gadol me'od. Believing in Hashem is such a big thing. This is the thing that everyone essentially has to get to at a certain point in their life, to really know that my life depends on how much I trust the one that is running the show. Throughout the generations, the chachamim, the wise people in Am Yisrael, the rabbis, the great assembly, they always spoke about, like, when it boils down to it, what's the most important thing that a person has to work on? And there are all different types of answers to that question. Like, what's the most important thing a person has to work on? And every generation, there's tzaddikim, they say that you have to work on this, you have to work on that. But the Gemara, and in Masechet Makot, says that there was a Navi, his name was Habakkuk. And Habakkuk says, you know what, the bottom line, the end of the end, is the following thing that a person has to realize his life depends on. V'tzadik be'emunato yichyeh. The righteous person lives through their emuna. At the end of the day, the last thing, basically, our generation is all about, essentially, is our door is all about emuna. Like, up until now, you had to have emuna, but you also had to work on that midah and that midah and that midah. Here, we're at the end, we're mamish at the end, at the brink of the end of concealment. And at the brink of the end of concealment, as you are all very aware of, nothing is adding up. Nothing that you're looking at is adding up. Nothing. we're looking at the world. Nothing. You want to believe there's justice. You want to believe we're heading to a right place. But it seems that all those. It seems like exactly the opposite. That it's basically mamash, mamash, mamash. Those that shouldn't be leading the show. Those that shouldn't be in such a good place. Those that shouldn't be in places of leadership. They're the ones that are running the show. Corruption is everywhere. Every other day you hear about another Rav who's basically some kind of a criminal. What's going on over here? So I want to share with you an amazing, I heard this Torah from the Erez Moshe Doron. This is an amazing, amazing tradition from the Maggid of Mizrich. And the Maggid of Mizrich says like this. He says, before redemption comes, this is crazy, before the Geula is going to come, the world is going to be run in the manner that it'll be looked like the Reshaim, the Shakranim, and the Ramaim, the crooks, all the people you never want to mishadach with your child, they're the ones that are running the show. And it looks like those that choose to lead path of Emuna are nebuch schleppers and cop-outs and what we call lo yutzlachim, those that aren't successful. That's what it's going to look like right before the great day comes. And he brings the mashal of what happened by the story of Eliyahu and Avi, and the Nevi'ei Abal and Har Carmel. And the Mizrich says, like before Mashiach has come, there's going to be a fire coming down that seemingly consuming the sacrifices of those that go against the way of Hashem. It'll be a situation where it'll be seemingly that Sheker is running the show. And it's gonna mess us up in the strangest way. It's gonna cause us to have chalishut hadat, weakness. Simply, it's gonna make us weak. It's gonna make us doubt how much my adherence to the law, how much my kesher to the masoret, to tradition, to mitzvahs, does it even really matter? Harry, look at those people that stopped caring about these things. They seem to be having a healthier life. They seem to be living much more stress-free. Why should I care so much about all the things that have to do with Emuna? Why should it be like this? Living the other way, living the way of just holding on to Emuna and keeping everything, it weakens me. I feel like a nebuch. So there's a pasuk in Eov that says that what God is going to do, what God is going to do right before the great day to come, and boy, is that mamish right here, right now. God is going to hold on to the whole world, and he's going to shake it. He's going to shake it really, really strong. That shaking comes in the form of all those svekot in our mind about whether it's really kedai to hold on or not. This shaking is meant in order to wipe away all those that are telling us Torah, Shabbat, Kashrut, Hashem involved in your life. Those are things of the past. That doesn't matter anymore. What you got to do now is the new world. That's basically what this shaking is coming to do. It's coming to take those voices and to shake them away from our lives. But in order to make sure that I don't fall from that, it's a real nisayon. And that's why I have to ask Hashem to have more emunah. I have to have God. I have to ask God, please give me more emunah, because I understand you're shaking up the heavens right now, the earth. You're shaking it all up. I need more emunah. I need more strength to hold on. But what type of emunah are we asking? What does it mean to have to ask God to have more emunah? It's a nice concept. But what does that actually mean? As many of you know, I've been very, very influenced from the teachings of Rabbi Shlomo Katz since I'm a kid. And sometimes some of his statements, once I hear them, they basically guide me and they make everything else in life start to make some sense. So he was once interviewed for, you could find this online, for a very interesting film festival, the Sunseed Film Festival. It's a movie about a lot of mystics back in the 60s and 70s. Ram Dass and others were part of it as well. And he said the following thing. He said that according to our tradition, we have to wait for the Mashiach every single minute and not just saying that someday it'll be good. It's like I have to literally wait. I have to be open to the notion that something amazing can happen right now. I have to. But of course, the world comes to me and says to me, what do you mean? Like people are saying this week. You really think Mashiach's going to come right now? On Tisha B'Av, look, there was never a greater Tisha B'Av amongst Am Yisrael since the Second World War. He says, how could it be? Well, you believe that goodness can come out right now? The world is so meshuggah. We don't trust each other. We don't feel close to each other. But as a Jew, the Emuna that I have to ask from Hashem is that I have to believe, I need Emuna to believe that it's not as bad as it looks. I have to believe that despite what my own physical eyes are showing me, and despite what everyone's telling me, I have to believe that deep down inside, the world is pure and holy and it's ready for the greatest thing in the world. Now, he said that he felt like his generation, which is just I guess it's still our generation. The young people of today, they really do believe in each other. They believe in the world. They believe in Hashem's world. They believe that they can make this world a shtekel Gan Eden. But the type of emuna that I want to just end off here and share with you that I feel I personally want to hold on to and want to ask for is the type of emuna that not only the Hashem should always let me focus on what I have and not what I don't have, but I need to believe that despite everything that's showing me that we're further from any greatness and clarity and beauty and peace that's coming into this world, I need to believe that it's just a layer, it's a thick layer of concealment. And beneath it all, there's trust, there's love, there's goodwill. There's even anticipation and there's excitement for a world without concealment that we're all going to be tasting and all touching, just like this. When a person, chas v'sholom, is on the brink of leaving this world, sometimes they're already tasting the clarity that they're about to live in when they're already in this world. I've had the I don't know if I call it an awesome privilege, unfortunate privilege, I don't know what to call it exactly. But I have had moments with certain people that were literally on their way to the next world. And I had that privilege with Ahava Emuna as well. The clarity with which she shared her heart and her belief in the good of the world and the people of the world is something I and all of us just can't ignore. The only thing is, Reb Nassan of Breslov says, is that we have to pray that we tune into that clarity, not, God forbid, when I'm forced to due to a physical ailment. But that my avoda in this world, the way I work on myself in this world, is that I constantly I'm constantly training myself all the time, please God, from a healthy place, to be able to go to that world of Hashem Echad U'Shmo Echad, where I believe in the world, and that becomes my anchor. And I just ask for more and more strength to be connected to what I have, which is belief in the world. Believing in God means believing in the world, believing in the beauty of the world. And that's getting harder and harder and harder. So in the schus of our dear friend, of your wife, of your ima, your daughter, your sister, our friend, our teacher, may we have enough guts to ask Hashem to please believe in the world more than ever and believe in the collective beauty of Am Yisrael and the collective beauty of the whole world, and to hold on as tight as we can during this shaking that's taking place, to hold on to that which we have the ability to tell you, Hashem, I need you. And I want to be your shaliach or shlicha. I want to be a person that when people are in my midst, they start believing in the world more. Amen. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Lots and lots of love from Efrat.